Hey, welcome folks to the weekly BrightID AMA. It is May 19th. Today we are happy to be joined by Superphiz. We're going to talk some about the Ethstaker system and also the Clear Fund round that's going on right now supporting Ethstaker and all the awesome initiatives going to make staking on Ethereum better. So super happy, been buddies with Superphiz for a long time, brings so much great energy to lots of the high signal, low noise projects, cares deeply about decentralization. The reason I know as much about staking largely comes from what Superphiz has put out there. So thank you, Superphiz.
Thanks. So, am I up? Do I go?
Yeah, do it, man.
Okay, so yeah, I don't have anything like anything planned, but I want to give you like maybe a 2-minute overview over who I am, what Ethstaker is, and then drill that down into this quadratic funds matching round. So I'm Superphiz. I'm technically no one, but I give myself a title. I call myself the Beacon Chain Health Consultant, or sometimes the Beacon Chain Community Health Consultant, because I'm kind of a believer that anyone who wants to make a difference in this space can, but I don't know if anyone's going to pay you to do that. No one's I need to get paid, but at any rate, I don't have a title, so I gave myself a title, and that is the Beacon Chain Community Health Consultant. And ideally, that sort of feeds who I am and what my activities are. My activities are primarily focused on promoting the health of the Beacon Chain. One of the less obvious things from that kind of implies that the Beacon Chain is my client. People are not my client. And that's odd, because people are like, oh, you must hate the users. Obviously not. I love participants on the Beacon Chain. But at the end of every day, my work is going to promote the health of the chain rather than the health or gain of end users. So whenever you're dealing with me, keep in mind, I'm working for the chain first, and for community members and users and participants of the chain second. That's just something that I don't make clear a lot, but I feel like it's important to get out there. My background, I've been in Bitcoin since 2011. Felt really soured with what I perceived as the capture of Bitcoin, and regardless of how you see that, my perception is that Bitcoin kind of lost an opportunity to develop into a fantastic product. And about that time, Ethereum kind of came onto the scene. And I thought, hey, I really love the potential here. I really love, I loved Vitalik's paper. I didn't understand a bit of the white paper, but I'm like, damn, this is really interesting. So I poured my energy into Ethereum. And as I did that, I realized that I shared a community ethos with so many of the early developers. And that sort of led me to where I am now. That is like blockchains, or Ethereum specifically, for the purpose of serving humanity. That's what I do. One of my favorite tweets lately is that Ethereum isn't about money. Like, I hope lots of people get rich, but I don't care. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because I want Ethereum to serve humanity. So that's what I do now. That's where I am. That's Superphiz, and let's get now to Ethstaker. Everyone's bored now, right? How am I doing? By the way, at Heart Engineer, I've never seen you in person. I see you on Reddit, on Twitter. It's nice to meet you. So that is Superphiz. Now, Ethstaker is an organization that I want to say I started in 2019. I think that feels right. When I observed
when the merge was about to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I had been following the core developer calls. Funny story about that. I quit my job in 2018 because at that moment, the merge was right around the block. And I'm like, I don't want to miss this. I don't want to be at work when we merge. So I got to get out of here. I'm going to go solo because it's going to happen any day. But not the merge. Actually, then it was the Beacon Chain launching. which eventually happened in December 2020. Ethstaker was an organization that I founded with, I guess I just sort of started it myself, and I was like inviting people, hey, my friend Nolan, who I met in a Discord, and Buddha, who works for Beacon Chain, he's like, hey, do you have a Discord? And I'm like, no, you want to do it? He's like, sure. So we onboarded Patricia Worthhalter from POAP. We onboarded Sam, who is our project manager, Anvetica, who was just so energetic about creating stuff. We just sort of snowballed into a staking service education arm for Ethereum. And it was natural, like it just sort of happened. And so through Ethstaker, we're kind of a big group. I want to say there are maybe like, I think our total head count is maybe in 60 or 70,000 members in various ways. That's not obviously our daily participants, but we're a pretty expansive organization. We do work with the EF. We receive an annual grant from the EF. And when I say I don't work for anyone, everything that we do, everything that I do is self-guided. It is, kind of waking up in the morning and what am I passionate about today? One of my passions right now is promoting staking tools above staking pools. And that's kind of my favorite way to say, we want to empower individuals to stake above custodial stakers. And so we've connected with the Ethereum Foundation and CLR Fund to provide $350,000 in like cash. It's DAI, and as far as most of us DAI is cash, to projects who want to improve staking tooling, whether that's education, whether it's dashboards, like literal tools that improve staking. We've spent a few weeks onboarding these projects, and now you can go to qf.ethstaker.cc, get BrightID verified, and choose which of these projects you think are most valuable and give them some DAI on Arbitrum. It's neat. I love it because it's a stack that's a little bit out of most people's daily routine. Like I don't use DAI on Arbitrum every day, but I believe it's healthy for our ecosystem to kind of encourage people to spread their wings in that direction. And so through this, we've had the privilege of onboarding a ton of people to BrightID. My Bit2 score has fallen to like 18 because I'm like reaching out to all these new people and I'm like, you're killing me. Yes, I'll verify you, but it hurts so much.
So many people would kill to have a B2 score of 18. So you're doing great. So keep it up.
Okay. I don't want to kill anyone to get that, but yeah, I saw I had like 52 one time and I was like,
yeah.
There was also recently an update went through that ripped through B2. I imagine that you're going to get some of that back. Yeah, something about the connection patterns. Yeah, the B2 verified people got cut ridiculously.
Well, it's a game anyway. It's not like there's, I imagine everybody has like these metrics in life, and they're like, this is Twitter followers or karma on Reddit. For me, it is, what is my B2 score? Like, I don't even know how it's calculated, but you're damn straight I'm going to look at it every day.
We want that to be true, right? Like that's the kind of thing that those are the intrinsic motivators for people. Like what? Great. Like we want to lean into that kind of stuff. That's cool.
I derive my value in reality from B2 believing that I'm a real boy. Like that's kind of how I ground myself.
Oh, super. At another time, we'll get deeper into the aura game, which is that on steroids. It will give you actual power, and it'll be cool. It's a supercharging of that kind of a thing.
I've drifted too far from you guys. Like, I love BrightID so much. I really like you guys, and I just have drifted. So I'm ready to hang out some more.
Awesome.
So I can go one of two directions here. I can go to the interface and sort of show people what it looks like, or we can just start talking to people, ideas, questions, or whatever like that. Sinew, are you bad investment? Did I imagine that?
I am indeed.
Oh,
Hello.
I love you. We haven't been on a call either, so it's good to see you.
Thanks.
Why don't I head to the interface?
I'm
real
sort
quick?
of curious in exploring some of the grants in the clear round, and maybe just like, I don't know, that I mean, maybe it's not the right thing to do to like play favorites and like highlight Superphiz's list of like which grants are the best, but I think it'd be cool to like see what's going on, maybe look
Yeah.
through some of them, and like you can share your screen and you can say, well, look at this one. This one's awesome, and we should learn more about this one.
Yeah, I love that you said it that way. Like, anyone who has met me, like I talk passionately about the things that I like. Like, I can't help it. Like, if I like something, I want other people to benefit from it as well. But I have done a good job during this grants round of not tipping my hand. Like, I don't want to modulate the signal. I want people's real signal to show through. But let's zoom through some of these real quick.
Yeah, I recognize some of them, like DAppNode is our friend. They've been on here before. Like, we love DAppNode. I think that's a great way to fulfill Vitalik's vision of not having all the Ethereum nodes like running on Amazon cloud or something like that. So I love DAppNode. Like, I recognize Roadkey. I think Roadkey's cool, but how does that actually fit in with staking? Like, isn't that a portfolio tracker?
It is, and we actually discussed this for a minute. But Rotkey does ETH2 tax management. So ETH2, I'm allowed to call it ETH2. It does beacon chain tax management. So if you have validators, it can help you manage your tax data related to them. So that's how it's valid. So Ethstaker is not a project I know very well. I've talked with a developer on Discord, and they seem very engaged. Not totally familiar with it. As you said, DAppNode, to know DAppNode is to love it. They are an open source tool that promotes home staking, which are all of the things that I love. It has taken me a while to warm up to them because we had this client diversity issue where everyone was running Prism, and DAppNode only supported Prism. And so it was hard for me for a long time to say, yes, use DAppNode, because it was a conflicting interest. But at the same time, they're an absolutely awesome team and a great product.
Hey, Superphiz, what's a bigger concern for you, client diversity or staking diversity?
So I would say they go back and forth, and it depends. It depends what the biggest problem is at the moment. Client diversity was something that we tackled for 6 months, and we got a lot of people on board. And as of the past few weeks, thanks to Michael Sproul's block print and Hani Abu's clientdiversity.org, we can see now that beacon chain client diversity is under control. When it comes to staking diversity, I don't want to say that I'm panicked about it right now, but I think it's so important that we establish standards and precedent for the next 50 years of the beacon chain. And if we allow any providers to grow too large now, then we're not going to have that precedent in 5, 10, 5 or whatever years to say, this is not something that we do. This is not our chain. This is not acceptable. If we allow it to happen now, then we might as well accept it in perpetuity until developers say, yeah, I'll be honest, developers don't want to. No one wants to attack. No one wants to penalize these big providers. We really want them to just sort of self-regulate. And in the absence of self-regulation, it's community regulation. In the absence of community regulation, then the developers will have to sort of say, you're harming our network. Let's get right. Is that a fair answer? Let's see. So I know many people are familiar with Samir Assaout. He has developed staking guides that are incredible. Ethereum on ARM. This is great. They're supporting low-powered staking devices. Imagine like staking on your cell phone. That's really a future I think we're moving toward. We talked about Rocky. So Mainnet DAO is something I'm personally excited about. They are a team from ETH Finance, which is a Reddit that I hang out in, and they're sort of developing a public goods like engine. And so I'm really excited to see like we're kind of using the idea of a roar, like a lot of people with a shared interest kind of making a big stand about something. I wasn't going to go through all these because I know what it's like to be on the other side. Like you're listening to this dude talking. I wish he'd shut up. But I'm going to zip real fast. Beacon Chain is a block explorer we love. Project Sunshine, something that I suggested on Twitter that it's a full decentralization dashboard for all of Ethereum, every different level of centralization that we're monitoring. Nice Node. This guy, and his name has slipped my mind, but he created an interface to run staking clients in your browser with like one click. It's awesome. He's going to onboard Beacon Chain stuff. Node Operator Association is a group of folks who want to kind of improve decentralization and kind of look at different staking metrics. Metrics is the right word. They want to improve decentralization by building on top of existing tools. Ethereum Pools is a great dashboard. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if this is the project that I think it is. I don't want to. Anyway, ETH Notifier, I don't know about it, but obviously it's exciting to get Ethereum-based notifications and Stellium. Stellium is very similar to Docker, except it's specifically focused on staking. And so there are some reasons that I would choose Stellium over Docker. I'm sorry, Docker, DApp node. I do love DApp node, but Stellium is specifically focused on staking. It also offers more features than you can find on DApp node staking. Wow. Someone should have said, Fizz, stop talking.
Wow, you did all of them.
No, it's cool. I had no idea what a bunch of these were, and I'm glad to know I'm sitting on the ETH Sunshine site right now as you say this, and just it's cool to see this stuff in a dashboard.
Yeah, there's this guy Hani Abu. There are a lot of people who just look for opportunities, and so when I'll tweet an opportunity, and 2 days later somebody will be like, "Hey, I did this. What do you think?" And I'm like, "Yes, that's what we needed." And so Hani is one of those people. He's like, I tweeted a mock-up picture of what this might look like, and like a week later, he's like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I'm like, "Yes, it's what we need." So it's exciting to see.
It's got a lot of David Meehall energy to it.
Yeah. But Project Sunshine hurts a little bit because if you look at it, it says the Beacon Chain health is like 61%. That's not something we really want to acknowledge, but to bury it is even worse.
It's so much better to acknowledge. It's so much better to acknowledge it. Right. People don't want to be making the problem worse. But most of them have no idea. Most of them, it's like, oh, sweet, I'm gonna run a node. Yay, I'm helping. And you're like, if you could just pick the number 2, that would be great.
Yes. I love just those breakthrough moments when somebody's like, hey, I could do this just a little better, and I'm like, that's all we need, just a little better. I also want to point out on this site. Some people have messaged me or commented publicly like, hey, I'm definitely willing to contribute, but I'm hesitant to do BrightID for whatever reason. And that's something I'd love to talk about, but you can also use this button over here to add matching funds without BrightID verification. So any way you want to participate is fine by me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that there's that option. And I think that's perfect because you got to have people on both sides. You got to have people adding the matching funds, and then you've got to have people contributing or participating in the quadratic funding, which, as we know, because of the nature of it, you need something like BrightID to, and also Macy, which ClearFund uses to protect against Sybil attacks and collusion, the two big problems that ClearFund is trying to tackle. So yeah, tell us some of the concerns, because we love to hear this type of feedback.
Yeah, the thing that I hear repeatedly is I don't want to dox myself. And
Yes.
my obvious response to that is you're not. Like I assume, and you all can inform me here, that there's some kind of UUID link to the phone. Is that
Yeah,
a fair
right.
assumption?
So you have, there's an identifier called your BrightID, and that so this is funny because I was just scanning over some tweets, and I saw this one that it's so Bitsika, who's not here because it's really late where he's at, but he's a cool BrightID guy. But anyways, I wrote a response to a recent paper by Pooja, Glenwile, and Vitalik that was about DSOC. Yeah,
Yes.
DSOC, right? So decentralized society. But anyways, in the response I wrote, and he quoted me, it's true that in BrightID project and everywhere else is what I said, your private information is only as private as your counterparties allow it to be. And privacy is a social contract between pairs or groups of people. So if we have a secret, because privacy doesn't mean anything if it's like a secret that you're sharing with at least one person. Otherwise, like, what's the point of having a secret? You've got to share it with at least one person. It's just, you hope that person will keep it a secret. That person may choose to like violate this like social contract that you have with them to keep your secret. And it's the same way with BrightID. So you're not sharing information with people who don't already know it. So that's the difference between like BrightID and, let's say, getting a passport from the US government. When I go to get a passport from the US government, I meet some agent that I've never met before. I bring in like my folder full of documents, hand it over to them. They learn all this stuff about me that they didn't know, review it. And in a month, if everything's okay, they send me my passport. So that's much different than BrightID, where you're using people that already know these things about you. You're not sharing anything new that somebody didn't already know. Now, if that person wants to turn around and like I tried to say, this is kind of like adjacent to BrightID. BrightID doesn't help or harm this process. But if someone that I've shared my personal information with decides to go and dox me, that's like on our relationship. Like they screwed up in some way, like they violated our relationship. There was some understanding that they weren't going to do that, and they went ahead and did it. And BrightID doesn't help with that, but it also doesn't hurt that. It doesn't make those types of things more likely to happen, but it doesn't stop someone from, like, if you connect with me on BrightID, I could turn around and be like, oh yeah, here's Superphiz's BrightID. Oh, and yeah, he also told me his email address, and this is it. And I could do something like that. But so anyways, you're not sharing that information with someone who doesn't already know it.
I want to jump even one step sort of more abstract. So in assuming someone does go through the BrightID process, so they show up at a connection party. They show up at a connection party. It's a Zoom room like this, which is not really the way BrightID is supposed to work, but it is the fastest, it is the most efficient way for someone that doesn't already know people in BrightID to get it. If you already know a bunch of people in BrightID, great. Superphiz got verified in BrightID because he was friends with Adam and I, and we vouched for him within the system. He didn't have to come to a special meeting. It just happened naturally. So, but a regular person that's concerned about being doxxed, they show up at this meeting. They're anonymous. The host makes a connection. They now have a BrightID. They have a unique identifier in the network. It's pseudonymous, but it does build out a social network. So I could go look at the BrightID social graph. I know Superphiz's BrightID because he connected to me, so I know his now, and I could find, oh, he's connected to these other dots. Okay, I could tell something. But when you then use that BrightID on an application like ClearFund gets none of that. All ClearFund gets back is a binary answer that yes or no, this account meets the verification standard that I've set. So it's a yes no question. So then so ClearFund now theoretically has like your Ethereum address and a binary answer back about whether BrightID says you meet some verification criteria. That's it. That's not docs, because that Ethereum address is in no way connected to your BrightID, which is connected to social things.
I think people, a lot of this, and I know this from staking as well, many people are afraid to home stake because they have all of these misconceptions. Like people say it's hard. People say, I need to trust a professional. And so they don't really know the depth of it. They just know like these common public assumptions. And so they're hesitant. And I think some of that exists with BrightID also. People don't know how it works. So they assume, well, if I'm going to be verified in some way, they're going to want information, because a lot of the comments I get are, I don't want to give my name. I don't want my username linked, and I don't want to give up wallet addresses, and I don't want to give my picture. And I'm like, okay, great. Me either. Let's go.
Yeah, we don't actually want any of those things, right? You can show up with a picture of a cat if you want. So like, and you can change it later. But so in BrightID, when you go to sign up for the app, it asks for your name and photo. The only thing that's useful for is so that other people that you're connecting with go, oh yeah, right. Superphiz, I have no idea what your real name is. I've never known, but I have a clear mental picture of the Superphiz, the human, and that's all I need. That's all I need to know. But it's the most important thing about BrightID is that you can't, if you signed up for 5 different applications with BrightID, no one, including BrightID or any of the applications, know that it was the same person that signed up for those 5 things. Yeah, Victor.
So right this start, I need to tell that maybe sometimes the people feel uncomfortable to be with a bunch of strangers. Sometimes we got 1, 2, 3 people in a meeting, but sometimes we got 50, 60 people, and it's a little bit overwhelming. So they need to understand that we need to see you on camera to accept your connection, because we need to be sure just that you doesn't come here. I mean, that you wasn't here before trying to verify another account. That's all. No, it's not because I need to see you. I need to see your face. No, it's just because I need to be sure that you wasn't here trying to verify a different account and you're making multi-accounts and that kind of stuff. And we are really flexible about it. We can make a private meeting if you don't want to be with a lot of strangers, but you at least the right star that is going to verify you, at least that person need to be sure that you wasn't here before. And it's the only way to be sure about it is if we see you on the camera. But we don't know where you're from. Even sometimes the only thing we need to know is that you understand English, that you understand what I'm saying. So I said you, hey, move your hands to know that you're not video, that someone is there. Or if I see something weird, okay, no, don't move your hands. Show me a thumbs up. That's all. You don't need to talk. You don't need to say anything. Is really that, just that.
Also want to clarify that by coming to those meets verification, so it's a shortcut to come to one of those meets. It's not really how BrightID is supposed to work, and all it gets you is a really low level verification. That said, at this point, because most people don't have that, like most applications want to use that low bar, it's still better than any other method that we know that's still easy for the user. Really how it's supposed to get, so like right, you said you've got a B2 of 18, right? You could set a B2 bar, right? You could say, hey, you got to be B2 level 5. You got to be B2, like that's a much higher hurdle. We don't think there's any Sybils that have a B2 level of 10, but it's also way harder. So Ethstaker, if you said, hey, everyone's got to be B2 10, you would not get enough users that could achieve that in a timely manner, or that they're like, as people get deeper into BrightID, as you actually connect to your friends, you can't get a high level verification by connecting to strangers, right? But the Superphiz and Philip and Adam and Yazdani, like all of us have good scores because we're all deeply interconnected into the graph.
I'll tell you that I'm seeing a neat kind of new phenomena. Some of it positive and some of it a little discouraging, but some of the communities that I'm a regular in, where they want to participate in this QF round, they're reaching out and saying, hey, who can verify me? And I'm like, that's the thing that I've really been waiting for. And so it's like, sure, let me send you a DM, or like, yes, I've never seen you in person, but we have been on Reddit together for 10 years. And, I know your dog's name and, whatever. Those are people that I'm so comfortable verifying. And it's really neat when we can do those. Like, I love to be connected to those people in the app. I'm like, yes, these are really my friends. But then, I haven't had an experience on a Discord where I've been in the community for like 3 or 4 years. And so we all started sharing our links, and a moderator's like, please stop sharing docs spam or whatever. And I was like, I know moderator's going to moderate, but like it felt so organic. And, then you run up against, people who are more reserved and more cautionary and like, we gotta tamp this down. This is potentially unsafe. And that's discouraging. But I know we're getting to the point where social verification is at least in our communities, like where I hang out, it's becoming normal. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and I understand where the moderator's coming from, having, because we shut down that kind of activity even on the BrightID Discord server, because we don't want it to turn into just a bunch of spam where people are just, trying to get anybody to connect with them on BrightID. So we do have to be careful about that. So what I would suggest for people who are looking to make BrightID connections, use an existing trusted channel with someone, rather than just like out in the middle of forum. Because I remember when BrightID first started to catch on, like a bunch of people would put it out in Twitter, like put a connection request out on Twitter, and we're like, no, don't do that, because like any random person can click on that and you'll get a connection request from that random person who saw your Twitter thing. So you do have to be more careful than that. And I also want to say
sending a DM to your friend that you already communicate with on Telegram or Twitter, that's the right method. Right. Or you're on a call with your regular you're on a video call with your regular communicators, with the people that you're used to working with. You say, hey, let's do a group connection. We all know it. Like, that's the right place to do that.
That's the right.
Not in a public Discord.
I have a bit of a follow-up to that. So, and again, it's my noobness. So I'm in a Discord, and I feel comfortable that I know pretty much everybody there. And so maybe it's not best practice, but I post a group link. And so 5 people click on the link. 4 of them I know. One of them, I'm like, I can't line that up. And so I don't want to mark anyone suspicious that could be a valid participant that like, I didn't catch it. Like, maybe it's my mistake. Is there a way to not engage that profile without marking them suspicious?
You can just ignore.
Okay, yeah, that's what I didn't know if that would totally ignore them or what, because the swiping isn't totally intuitive. It wasn't for me first till I figured it out. Yep. So just ignore, that's the plan?
Yep. Yeah, you just ignore. And also, right, if you just took no action, if you just left it, that would be the same as if you swiped past it.
Okay, yeah. And it still expires after the 15 minutes, whatever?
Yep.
Okay, cool, great, that's good to know. I'm happy to share that with other people, because it's like, I don't want to be discouraging. I don't want to mark a real person unfairly, but sometimes I just
is there not a skip button? I thought we added that.
No, but the thing is, like, because suspicious feels too heavy for some cases. And so it's good to have that other option, to be able to just swipe and forget about it. But yeah, it's not, I agree, it's not that discoverable.
I don't think it's necessary. I mean, we got 10,000 of connections, and we got a lot of that kind of cases, and it's no problem, really. When you understand that just ignoring it is enough, that's enough. I mean, you don't have to put a lot of work.
And super, it's also worth noting. So, like, when let's say you make a bunch of those connections, hopefully those people that, like, the people that you're confident on, you should make already known connections with. The people that you still want to make a connection, but not as high level confidence, you can make a just met connection with.
Yeah.
And BrightID treats those things very differently. So when you make a just net connection, it has no impact on your B2 score, for example.
Okay.
Right. B2 is the B2 analysis is only done on the already known part of the graph. So you don't have to.
So I don't know how much you plan to go into this, but I love my, like, this is my Q&A, right? You thought this was community Q&A. I'm under the impression that it's most beneficial for, in an already known relationship, for both people to mark the same thing, that there's a disparity if, and so like when it's in a community, people are like, I think people have this idea, we just met on BrightID. Like, yes, I've known you for years, but we just met here. And so I've been very careful to say, if we're going to acknowledge each other, we're both going to mark already known because we've been friends for, you know, however many months. But it ends up being a question sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's good to get that out in the open. And I think it's okay that if you know someone, to let them know how you're marking them. And it's good to allow the other person the option to kind of defect. Like if someone this hasn't happened to me, but I could imagine a situation where someone's like, okay, cool, we connected. I'm going to mark you as already known. I'm like, you know, I don't even have to tell them. I'm like, I'm not there yet. I'm just going to put just met. Like I've only known you a week or something.
Yeah. There have also been examples, you know, we had Andreas Antonopoulos come on, you know, and I've
cool.
followed and appreciated him and his work for years. For me, that was an already known connection.
Yeah.
He didn't know me, so
Yeah.
he appropriately marked me as just met, and I appropriately marked him as already known.
Yeah. And that I'm definitely not Andreas Antonopoulos, but I have those, like, people know me and I don't know them as well. And I don't want to ding them, but it takes a little bit of.
It
doesn't hurt them. It's hard. Okay. So what you should do, if you get a connection request kind of out of the blue, like let's say, or, okay, so let's start with the example that you gave, where you were doing the group connection and there was one that you didn't recognize. So let's say that you were on a call and there were a Zoom call and there were only 4 people and like a 5th request showed up in that group, which could mean that like someone's using 2 devices, or someone like shared the group code with a friend that wasn't in the Zoom call, or something weird like that. That would be one that I would definitely mark suspicious.
Because that triggers, like, you have that mental note of, this is really weird. I think
exactly.
you get those, like, you have that spidey sense.
Yep. Yep, that's what that's for. And then the other example is if you're somewhere where it just feels like spam, like someone is just like fishing for, because there is going to be some social engineering type stuff. There's going to be people who are like, hey, please connect to me, and please connect to me with already known, and they're just spamming it around and putting it in places they shouldn't. If you see something like that, there's a way to open the connection and then flag it as spam before you actually make a connection or share anything with them. So those are 2 useful options you have to fighting against spam and suspicious activity.
What to understand about it is that it's about trust. When the system asks you, or you have the choice to select already known, no, is that I know your last name, or I know your family, or I know where you live. No, it's about I trust in you. So when you select the green option already know, and the other person select the yellow option, the system, the only thing is going to think about it is, so one of these is lying, because one is telling something and the other is something out there. So it's going to punish the person that he thinks is lying, the one that select the green option. And at the same time, when both of the people that are connecting select the green option already know, is the system is going to trust in that option. It's going to tell, okay, I'm going to trust in you. I will get you more benefits in the future, like a good score, a better score in the B2 verification. But at the same time, you will be held responsible for that connection, because the system is going to trust in you. So if in the future, for the algorithm or for anything, the system think that connection that you selected as already know is a fake account, or maybe it's a multi-account or something like that, you are attacking the system indirectly, so you will get punished for that. So that's why the only thing you don't need to know everything about the person. The only thing is that you can trust in that connection.
Yeah, that makes good sense.
Yeah, there's something else that I wanted to mention about, because you said that your B2 score is going down. So ideally, because you've been making already known connections with people and helping them into the system, so your score temporarily goes down. It should be a temporary thing. Because if those people do their work and make more connections than just with you, then that'll start to bring everybody's score back up again. And that's kind of what we want.
Yeah, to be fair to them, I think, focusing on the CLR fund round, their intention is really just to get verified. They're not yet committed. Hopefully they'll become committed to BrightID, but right now they're just trying to meet that minimum standard.
Exactly.
And so, but from my perspective, like, I think of that as like social credit, and like, Fizz I have 100 social credits, and I'm happy to give those out to people that need them. And yeah, I'm going to be depleted, but because I've built social credit, a network, people are going to give me social credit later back. So it's going to be okay.
Yeah, some of those people will end up being power users and making more connections, and that'll lift everybody's score. What were you going to say, Philip?
I was going to say, so one of the things that, so we're soon to be launching this Aura game that we've talked a bunch about cryptically in these calls, but what Aura looks to do is find the people that want to be players, right? They want to be like you and bring people in, and they just accept that, hey, 1% of people are going to be like that, and the other 99% of people just want to be verified. So we get this intense inner graph of the players that are all monitoring each other and watching what's happened, and then everyone else's are just like on the perimeter. We don't have to watch them very much, because we're just watching who the verifiers are. So you'll be an Aura player, and there's going to be all kinds of tools that go into making sure that you're doing your job right. But as long as you're doing your job right, anyone like downstream of you just like gets to ride on your reputation. And we think that this small percentage of users want to play that role, and a whole bunch of them don't want to have anything to do with that, and that's fine, and we should embrace that. Originally, we thought, hey, kind of everyone can be involved. No, it's 1% doing it, and the others just sort of being one hop from that. And we can do so much
Aura
better
is tailored for that. Aura is tailored for that type of model, which is true to real life. B2 is a little more optimistic, like, hey, more people are going to participate and play the game. I kind of think the Aura model is more realistic and will end up winning out, but it's fine to have both models kind of coexisting and see which does better.
So obviously, like, I'm out of the loop with BrightID right now, and I'm okay with that. But what is, I mean, I'm not okay with that. Like, I love you guys. What is the rollout for Aura? Is there somewhere I can see like gameplay or?
Yeah, we should, let me send you an invite. So right now it's in closed beta, but I think we're at the point that we're trying to get more people to use it. Just kind of like handpicking people to use it. So I'm going to share with you in the chat. Sorry if you're on YouTube, you won't be able to see this.
Yeah,
but anyone who's here today in our call.
It's tight circle right now. There's still some like UX issues. You just sent that to everyone, Adam.
I know. I sent it to everyone, but YouTube's not going to see it.
Yeah,
so if you came to the AMA, you get to participate in our closed beta. And also, I'm going to share with you the Discord link where you can give feedback on Aura, because we know that there's lots of issues. So please give us feedback. But this is like going to be the power toolbox for Sybil hunters, that 1% of power users that can, like, some of them we hope will make it their full-time job to, like,
I'm like,
look at the network.
When you say Sybil hunting, I get a little excited. Like, I can't
then
deny,
you should be an Aura player.
One of my favorite examples. So since the beginning, I've wanted it to be true that I could walk into a university or a village somewhere that had never heard of BrightID, and I would connect to those people. They would like interconnect to each other, so that like I was confident that they were all new good BrightID users, but I'm the only bridge to the graph.
Yeah.
And any graph analysis would look at that and say, that's a Sybil region, because look, there's now 100 people through one bridge. That's a Sybil region. But if I have sufficient credibility in the system that people know that's a thing Philip does, then it's not a problem. It's an awesome way to grow the graph really quickly.
You're a bridge builder, not a scammer. Right.
So the other players should continuously look and make sure, hey, is he abusing that power? Is he continuing, right? Do the bridges grow over time in ways that are reasonable? If I doubt that region, can I say, hey, I want to meet some of those people you just connected to, like, let's set up a chat, like, let's test it out. Another favorite example, Axie Infinity, when they were trying to cut down on Sybils, they had this one IP address that they cut off because it had like 12 players 24 hours a day. And they were like, well, clearly that's shenanigans. And the people were like, oh, why'd you turn off our accounts? They ended up doing a video call. It was a whole family of like 3 generations, including kids and the grandma, that played all day long during COVID times. And quickly the Axie team said, oh, okay, I agree. I see what you're doing. It's not inappropriate. You can have your accounts back. So we want people to be able to do things that a graph analysis could never on its own do.
Yeah.
Another important thing, we're talking about feature, we're talking about Aura, all these connections and whatnot that happen in BrightID. The graph exists. How you analyze it, what you do with the data, how you think about it, how the verification, all that is super flexible. We already have 10 different ways that we look at that same data set, and we think that's really important. That this is a hard problem to solve. People add new information, and we can always think of better ways to analyze it. Future us is smarter than current us.
It's so funny. I hang out with you guys for a while, and I always have this like burning obsession with BrightID, and then I talk to my wife or whoever about it, and they're like, what? It's like, you're a real person. Okay, big deal. And I'm like, but no,
that is so
more
true
than that. And they're like, what else can you do with it? And I'm like, but it's just exciting, right? Like, you can connect with all these people, and it's a pseudonymous social graph, and everybody's like, yeah, it's KYC, right? Like, and I'm like, no, it's hard to really like get to the world, like how exciting this can be when people like us just have this innate excitement for it that can't really be transferred. I don't know.
Yeah, that's so true. Like when I tell people, hey, we could hold a world vote, like we could have all the citizens of the world vote on something. They're like, so
yeah,
why do we? Or we could give everybody universal basic income. They're like, eh. So, but then there's people like Santi from Democracy Earth and Proof of Humanity, and like we totally geek out on this stuff, and we're like, oh man, could you imagine like how cool the world is going to be when we have this stuff at a global scale? And so like, yeah, I totally get you. It's a certain
we glossed over the DSOC thing, DSOC. I've had some arguments about this, but there is so much potential there, and I really think BrightID it's just a fantastic plugin for that whole concept. Like, I admit, I'm not ashamed to be who I am. It was difficult for me to get through that paper, and like I'm having to kind of distill it and take it in small chunks. But the potential of it is just so wildly exciting, and I really see BrightID playing, or maybe it's not BrightID. Maybe people have talked about an amalgam of different proof of humanity concepts, but BrightID really seems to be a perfect plugin for the whole DSOC platform. Yeah.
So I just want to highlight for people who are watching on YouTube that so Mark asked a really good question here. Is there any tool or platform other than, for example, the initial onboarding call I had with Victor to connect with other users via trust building games or exercises to build up our social graph reputation? Or that's basically what Aura is aiming to achieve. And yep, that's exactly it. Like, that's what Aura is going to be. So if the 99% of people are going to just say, hey, just get me verified. I just want to be verified. And the process for getting verified in Aura is find an Aura player and connect with them. Or if you're lucky enough to know multiple Aura players, connect to multiple Aura players. If there's absolutely no Aura player around you, then you get a unique opportunity. You can become the first person in your family or your community or whatever to become an Aura player and kind of like build those bridges yourself. But yeah, that's what Aura wants to be. And we want to have all these tools. And I put a link in the forum post how you can use to disambiguate between Sybils. You can use existing information that you know about someone. So it's like the Aura players are the researchers, like the Sybil hunters, the researchers that you as a normal person just tell me, hey, I want to be verified. And then I go through, I say, okay, we're connected on BrightID. Great. I already know this stuff about you. I don't have to like grill you or ask you questions or anything. I just go through, look at what I already know, look at the graph and be like, okay, this makes sense. Like there's no other person using these identifiers that I already know about this person. There's no one else using those with a different BrightID account. And I link to a post that shows how you can, in a privacy preserving way, you can do checks like that. So they can do these checks. They have these tools in their Aura toolbox to make sure that that person they're reviewing is not creating Sybils. And once they are satisfied, then they just give that person a thumbs up. And like I said, sometimes just connecting to one Aura player will be enough to get the verification level you need. But it's good to have more. Yeah, so.
I have
Awesome explanation, Adam. Thank you.
I had something to add to that.
Oh, yeah.
The thing is that I feel when you said to build up our social graph reputation, that sums up like a race that you are trying to get more and more and more. Like, let's say, like a big comparison like Twitter. When you say get more social graph reputation, more social reputation on Twitter, when you have more followers, or when you are verified on Twitter, that kind of stuff. And on BrightID is a little bit different. That, I mean, we want you to connect with the people that you know in real life, with your family members or friends, or to make more friends or to make more connections. But no, it's not like you're going to find more people just for the fact for having more people. It's not like you are going to the streets and just yell out, hey, connect with me, everyone, because I need more people to be connected to.
I mean, that's
yeah, but I mean, that's, you know, like the goal. That's not the goal. The goal is you get more people to know in your communities, in your Discord server, kind of stuff, and you can trust in more people there. It's good. I mean, it's better, but it's not like you are racing to get more reputation or to be more like a beacon for. I don't know how to say. I hope that you understand me what I'm trying to say. It's not like gaining.
Do you guys ever go to a Zoom call and like you're the only kind of like BrightID enthusiast there, and you're like, I wonder after we're offline if we can do a group connection. I wonder if they're going to tolerate that. I'm always wondering if I can get away with it.
Yeah, exactly. But let's say that like this: I got like 40 or 50, I mean 4,000 or 5,000 connections, but only I got like I already know like 20 because they are my friends. The rest of the people, I don't know them. So I am the one that verify the people, but I'm actively looking for more and more and more people just for the sake of having more people. If I know someone, I explain the system to them and I tell him, hey, if you want to be connected with me, come to the meeting. And I am going to verify you, but it's not, I mean, it's not like the mindset to just trying to get more and more connections, just to have more and more connections with people.
Yeah, and I think that for at least the short-term future, something like an onboarding call for new BrightID users will always be useful until maybe it reaches a scale where it's just not feasible anymore. But it's good to, have fun, meet someone who can tell you what BrightID is, tell you how to use it, like tell you how to set up social recovery, make your first connection, see how it works. That's always going to be useful. But pretty soon, I think most apps are going to transition away from accepting that meets verification as being like what they use, because like Victor said, he's connected to thousands of people. And it's like now you're relying on Victor's like ability to know if that person hasn't shown up like 5 times. So it's like there's limits to what Victor can do. He's doing a great job, but like we need to graduate to a higher level of verification, and that's what Aura is going to be. It forces the Sybil attackers into this arena with all the like elite Sybil hunters. So it's like they're in this terrible place to try to do their Sybil attack where like hopefully they just get sniffed out really fast. So that's what we want the future to be.
I love the design you described though. Like it meets is okay. Like it is, if it's where we're at and the protocol is spreading, meets is fine. But you know, you can gradually just sort of raise that standard for people to be able to do more and more engagements with higher levels of trust. Like I just think that's a beautiful design.
Here's something you'll love. So we're soon going to be launching a project that has grander ambitions, but starts off being a gas faucet that's powered by BrightID, so that we can give gas on inexpensive chains, which it can be a major onboarding problem. It's like, dude, you need 1 penny worth of XDAI so you could like do stuff, but you either don't have it.
I remember that with HoneySwap. With HoneySwap, like you just need 1 penny of XDAI.
Right. So either you don't have it, or you don't want your addresses to be connected. So like you don't want to, like you got plenty of XDAI in this wallet over here, but you don't want to send it to this fresh wallet. Great. You should just be able to go get yourself a penny worth of XDAI, right? Yeah. But all the faucets that have tried to do this in the past, the bad actors come in and they just steal it all. And it doesn't matter how small you make it. Those bastards, the bad guys, are willing to be bad at a scale that until you get attacked by it sounds unreasonable.
Yeah.
But invariably, if you make a honeypot that can be Sybil attacked, the Sybil attackers are better at Sybil attacking than normal people would.
Absolutely.
All the things, the email addresses and SMSs and like any validation that you think would be good, they have thousands of them.
What I've seen like 80,000 POAPs get claimed in 3 seconds, and I'm like, they're gone.
So on this gas faucet, what we're going to do is, hey, with meets verification, like you can come claim 1, and if you have a B2 level, you can claim 3, right? So exactly the same site, but you're just sort of like segmenting how much you can do as you have the higher verification. And it makes it really clear, like, oh, hey, this is a useful thing. I do come here. I would like to be able to come more often. Great. Then jump through the hoops of getting the higher verification.
Well, Donnie and I were talking about that in the pre-call, and that's a really valuable resource for chain testing, because when it comes to Gurley, ETH, Ropsten, Sepolia, whatever, like we need the right people to have enough ETH to stake on a test net. But what we end up with are the Sybils who instantly, or they will write anything to drain those faucets as quickly as possible, and then it ends up being a developer drain because they're jumping through hoops to avoid Sybils to get the right people the right testnet tokens. This faucet I think it will save a ton of developer time, just because it's not something that has to be babysat all the time. Like I'm really excited about it, and obviously for a slightly different reason, because I get the need for transaction fees, but I'm really interested in letting the right people get in to test these networks.
And so it would be awesome to work with you. We don't know people that are like whales on the test nets, but it sounds like maybe you do. So that'd be awesome if you could help us get the resources to spread to the people.
I'm not afraid to beg. That's
awesome. Yeah, and usually if you go to the right people, like it's pretty easy to get Gurley ETH if you know someone that has a stack of it.
You may not know this. Do you know that there's a secondary market for Gurley ETH? And so there are platforms that really push people to trade Gurley for tokens that they can sell for money. And so we've had to shut down pretty much all of Gorilla distributions. The only way that we've really found to give it out is to make people set up a validator, and then we'll fund the network directly. Because if we give it to people, they end up turning around and trying to sell it. So this kind of structure where at least if you're verified, you may misuse it, but you're not going to get to continually abuse it. So that's really great.
Awesome. All right, we have achieved just past the hour, so we should start to work to wrap this up.
Yeah, I think we should wrap it up. I heard an interesting topic that I think we should do for a future AMA call very soon, which is the DSOC, however you want to pronounce it, paper that came out. I wrote a response post to that. And from kind of like from the perspective of BrightID. But I think there's a lot of interesting stuff in there, and I'm always interested when Glenn comes out with a new paper. He's just like, he and Vitalik are just really interesting people to read the stuff that they think about. So I think there's a lot to discuss there. I would love to have more than just a few minutes to talk about that. So let's do it. Let's set that up as a future topic. And talk more about that one. But thank you so much. Thank you, Superphiz. You've been great. Thank you for walking us through like every single one of those grants on the ClearFund Ethstaker round. That's so cool. We all learned a lot. And
I'm
how
afraid
much time do we have? How much time do we have to make our donations?
Oh, great idea. Great question. I think it's like 5 days left.
5 more days, so we got to get on.
I hope I didn't do a disservice. Like I got more excited about hanging out with you guys, but qf.ethstaker.cc really is, it's an extremely valuable opportunity. And I really appreciate that you guys are had me here to talk about that a little bit and everything else a lot.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And I hope we can see you at future AMAs because you've got lots of cool stuff to contribute. So thank you for being here. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you people on YouTube, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.
All right.